The average real estate investor, if I've got a loan to sell, if you understand how this accounting works, you have to understand the opportunity cost of not doing the deal is far more expensive than the interest you get to write off.
Exactly.
What is interest?
What is interest?
Yeah, what is interest? This is a trick question, by the way. There's no right answer.
There's no right answer. Okay. Interest is what you pay on a loan so that the lending institution makes a spread off the money.
This is true. Spoonie, what's interest?
It's the fee you're paying to borrow somebody else's money.
Cost of money.
Cost of money.
Interest is a motherfucking tax deduction, son.
Oh,
Why are you worried about it anyways?
Yeah, there you go.
I swear these fucking realtors and loan officers, that ain't tax advice. I'm not a CPA, but whenever people give me the whole interest, what I'm like, bro, interest, at least on your balance sheet, I might be wrong. Spoon's going to know more about this probably than I would, but this is something we learned this year, and you can pass this right on to your people. When you take your balance sheet and you have all of your deductions, okay, so you have a single property, you put X number of dollars into it, the money you spent on it, everything that went into that project, okay? When it's on your balance sheet and you send that property to a bank or a large lender, like a local bank, they look at the balance sheet for the property or a company for any, balance sheet for property or company, okay? They take your interest and your depreciation. And what they do for it, Braxton?
They add it back in.
They add it back in. Do you get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So you have deductions that you got to deduct, whatever, a stove, a sink, a bunch of different things that you put into the property. You don't get credit for that back, but you get all your credit for your interest and your depreciation credited back to your income. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So interest in and of itself is not a problem or shouldn't be a problem, and higher interest shouldn't be a problem. If you live in your own house, if you like the house that you live in, do you get to deduct your interest off your taxes?
Of course I do. Of course I do.
And no other W-2 person out there, you know what I mean, that's not a real estate investor, like the higher interest rates, you get to write all that off.
Yeah. And what you're saying is absolutely true, but then you have the average consumer that's been used to 2.75, 3.25, 3, 4. Look, guys, I'll tell people this every single day. We're in a normalized interest rate right now.
Maybe.
It just depends on if you look at the total history since mortgage lending has started. Heck, in the 80s, you'd be lucky to get 12s.
This is true. All of this is true. I agree with you 100%. The problem is the education from the, and I'm talking about more residential mortgage people, the realtors. You know how when something happens in the news, the talking points come out, and all of a sudden they have the talking points, and it just gets, as Spoon would say, what is it? Gaslit into the
Gaslighting.
Gaslighting. It just gets gaslit into the atmosphere over and over again. The talking points on higher interest should be this. What do you get to write off on that rent house? How much of that rent do you get to write off on that rent house? And your average W-2 person that doesn't office in that house or doesn't do anything in that house, I don't know what portion of that they do get to write off. You know what I mean? I'm not a CPA, but I'm going to guess it's closer to, how much of your rent do you get to write off?
When you factor in everything, pretty much all of it, like they get to cancel out essentially.
No, I'm talking about your rent that you pay right now, that you pay to that apartment complex.
0, yeah.
You don't get to write any of that off.
None of it.
But if you owned a house right now, personal residence right now, what would you get to write off?
Whatever percent I can say.
No,
The mortgage interest.
the mortgage interest.
So all of the interest on it.
Yes,
Even on a personal residence.
even on a personal residence. That's what I'm saying. The talking point should be it's a moot point. Bill it to Joe Biden.
Well, you're saying, you're saying the wrong message is jumping into that echo chamber, and they're just recirculating the wrong message. The message should be that you can write off this interest.
Yeah, like if I got a loan to sell, if I'm trying to sell a residential piece of real estate, or I'm trying to sell a hard money loan, you know what I mean? If I'm trying to sell a hard money loan, it gets easier because Now it's an interest-only expense, right? So you get to write all that back. And the next lender that's going to refinance you out of this property is going to give you credit for that expense back on the income the property produces. So if I have a loan from Rob at Jet Lending, and I have a tenant in place, I get to write 100% of that monthly payment off on my taxes. I'm a CPA. I'm not a CPA. This isn't tax advice, but I get to write it off.
And let's just go ahead and tell them we're not lawyers either.
We're not lawyers.
We're not lawyers. We don't give law advice.
When I go for a loan, with the bank, they're going to give me that deduction back on
Absolutely.
my income.
Yeah, they even ask you at the end of the year, what do you have a loan on? You can write off your interest on your car.
Oh, hold on, whoa. Now we're getting off into that. It's not CPA nonsense.
Okay.
I'm not. I'm just telling.
I don't know what the rules are.
I'm telling
Scare me.
the average real estate investor, if I've got a loan to sell, if you understand how this accounting works, you have to understand the opportunity cost of not doing the deal is far more expensive than the interest you get to write off.
Exactly.
Period.
Period. End of the story.
That's the end of the conversation.